Cherished viewers, you are most welcome to this evening session. Tonight on our show, we are discussing the economic implications of the COVID-19 pandemic on church, on the individual, on businesses, as well as organizations. And we are blessed, we are graced tonight to have members of our own church, the Calvary Methodist Church, who are here as our panelists. On my extreme left is Nana Gyamfi-Acheampong, who is a businessman and the CEO of Chrissach Floors. Nana say you are most welcome.
Thank you.
Following him is our own brother, Dr. Ishmael Yamson, who is an economist and a corporate business executive. Our final panelist is in the person of brother Ato Ockan, who is a chartered accountant and financial consultant. He's also the managing partner of Quantum Platinum Consult. Gentlemen says, we know we are going to have a good time with you here, and you are most welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, viewers, tonight, as we have been looking at, we've gone through this particular pandemic for a long time. We want to ask ourselves, what exactly has been the implications or the impact on business in terms of revenue, the cost, the inventories, the receivables, and etc.? What can we share on that? So, Nanase, I want to start from you, please.
Thank you for inviting me to join in this discussion. Nobody expected or predicted the small virus known as now COVID-19 would have an impact on our lives and on our businesses. The effect is enormous in terms of cost to businesses, unexpected cost to businesses, and people, jobs, and processes of organizing or running organizations. This cost has impacted heavily on small, medium, and large corporate organizations. Companies are having to readjust their methods of operations to be able to accommodate this overhead cost. Aside that, there are challenges with applying or probably complying with the COVID-19 protocols, which has also brought an enormous cost to companies. Social distancing, washing of hands, use of masks, all of that are unexpected costs to companies. And these are challenges unforeseen by companies, and we have to grapple with.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Yes, Daddy. What do you also make of it, Uncle Ishmael? The impact.
Well, I think that this is unprecedented, as my friend has said. It's over 100 years ago that the world experienced something close to this. But what we should always remember is that this is primarily a health crisis. And a health crisis which has created an enormous economic and enormous social crisis. So on the back of a health crisis, we have a multi-dimensional crisis. Its impact, therefore, has been quite extensive. Economically, socially, and I must say, politically, it had a great impact indeed. I think the details of the impact on, let me start with the individual.
Okay.
First of all, we all had our what we would discuss our natural human rights, more or less curtailed. And it was curtailed for our own benefit. So we had to be asked to stay at home, wash our hands, wear a mask. When we sit or meet, make sure that we are about 2 meters away. Being confined to your home is a limitation on your right. And we all know that in some countries today, maybe in many countries, there's agitation for those limitations to be removed. We had our lockdown, I think, for 3 weeks, and we were set free.
Yes.
So our individual liberties had to be sacrificed for the general good of the people. So that is where we start with the individual. And because we have time, maybe I'll just stop here. But we also know that individuals have had considerable suffering during this period. But let me stop here so that
Okay, we'll take some session. Okay. Right, sir.
Yes.
What do you also make of it, please?
For most of the issues have been mentioned by my colleagues. Okay. But for me, this is like a civil war. The pandemic is like a civil war, or we can even say that an external aggression, which actually affected many countries without any provocation or justification at all. Yes. And no country was prepared for this, whether big or small or medium. We were equally extensively affected. Individuals, businesses, people as small as the wachi seller somewhere, because his or her client has lost his job, and therefore the person's capacity to even come to buy something, it's a major issue. So the effect of this pandemic is very widespread, and various countries, various governments have attempted to mitigate it in a way, but we are still seeing very serious numbers, and it's quite frightening. Sometimes we think it's too far away until you are hit by it. I lost an uncle in London about a month ago because of this pandemic. Nobody thought about that. So until you are hit by this crisis, then you can imagine the quantum of effect. It's a very deadly weapon. And somebody said it was like an invisible enemy. And somebody was saying that, look, we have all these mighty superpowers. They have their missiles and anti-ballistic weapons and nuclear weapons. Why can't they shoot one missile to just demolish this thing? But you'll be in your house and it will show up. For sure. And just do the damage and go. So, like my colleagues said, the effect is very widespread. We still haven't been able to have a handle over it. We are still struggling with it. So, those of us in Ghana and, relatively smaller countries, the effect could be huge. It can dislocate entire country's budget. But nobody planned for this, and the thing arrived on us almost quietly. So, my initial comments are that. And I think the earlier the earlier we find a handle to that one, it will help. As the damaging effects could be very extensive moving forward.
Okay. So, having seen the impact and the adverse effect it's had on governance, even on businesses and the individuals, like we said, families, what can businesses do differently in the wake of this pandemic? How best are businesses supposed to adjust themselves? Because sometimes they want to carry out promos, discounts, but if the buyer, the consumer is not ready for it, what can businesses do at this moment? I want to start again from you. Yes, please. Yes, after a while I'll swap the order.
That's an interesting question. When you don't have buyers and you're ready to sell, first, I am looking at protecting what you've got as a business.
Okay.
One, for me, my biggest commodity is my employees. Find ways and means to protect or hold on to your valuable workforce. Then you also move on to looking at what your inventories are to be able to sell to the market. I'm also looking at diversifying your areas of marketing your products. And now I think we would all agree the platform of internet is key to getting to as many people as you can to be able to market your product. No matter how small it may be, you need to be able to expose yourself to the market through internet marketing. But importantly is innovative ways of reaching your market or your audience. That is my view to doing things differently to reaching your market or your goals.
Okay. So I would come back to you, but briefly, you were talking about your initial asset, that's your employee, and making sure they are comfortable. This is to mean that you cannot downsize.
I'm not saying don't downsize,
Right.
but you first look at what your essentials are.
Essentials, okay.
That's right. Because if you, in this pandemic, in this time, if you lose your most valuable asset in the times when things are good, where would you be able to get that essential commodity, which I see as your employees, to be able to move forward, move your company forward?
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Yamson, please,
Well,
what do you make of
for
it?
For me, businesses need to understand that the world has changed.
Okay.
And the world will never be the same again. We will never do things as we used to do in the future. And business people need to understand that they can never continue to operate and maybe even make the same offerings as they used to do in the past.
Okay.
Let me start with the assets you talked about, the people.
Okay.
It is true that what you need to do as a business is to project confidence that you are not a butcher. You are not just going to get up one morning and say to everybody, get out of here. But employees must also understand that because the world has changed, things will change in the company. Skills will change. And we know, for instance, that businesses that are doing well today are businesses that are driven by internet.
Sure.
So employees are prepared to learn new skills. If they don't learn new skills, they will not be part of the new world. Okay. And we have entered a new world where technology will rule, and we need to be technology savvy. And businesses also need to understand that Ghana is an import-based product. If you go, I've just come from ShopRite. I think about 85 to 90% of everything being sold there is external. If you go to most of our manufacturing houses, virtually all their raw materials are imported. Very, very few companies can say we source 30% or 40% of our raw materials in country. So we need to understand the supply chain disruptions and the supply chain dislocations outside Ghana. Okay. Because, I mean, look at our traders. They were largely dependent on China.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To go and bring goods. Food. If you go to Ato Ockan, most of them were bringing in used spare parts. Now, the airport is closed. So you can't bring goods in. It doesn't matter what kind of business you have, what kind of employees you have. Your supply chain has been disrupted. Period. So we need to take time as businessmen, whether we are small businesses or medium-sized businesses or big businesses, to understand what are the external factors that will have impact on our business, and understand how you will manage it in the future. We have outside every country outside of Ghana, and maybe many countries are now becoming inward looking. And for me, that is a challenge for our government. We have been independent for over 60 years, right?
Yes.
Why must we still today be overwhelmingly import dependent in things we eat and things we manufacture? Why can't we build capacity here in Ghana so we can source maybe 40% or even 50% of all that we need? Raw materials and consumer goods local. So it's a challenge for government as it is for. So businessmen, business people in this country need to understand that business doesn't mean jump onto an aircraft and go and buy goods. No. Why can't we also begin to say, how can we, government, the people, business people, small, medium size, come together and say, we now have an agenda. We say, in the next 5 years, we are going to solve 50% of our requirements here in Ghana. Why? When I was a young manager, I knew that Ghana could produce its own rice and eat its own rice. And in the 70s and 80s, lots of investors went into rice production. Today we spend $400, $500 million, and we are proud of it. What kind of people are we? And yes, we have the land. We have the people who are prepared to work the land. So COVID-19 for me is a curse, but it's also a blessing.
Right.
And we must not only look at the difficulties of the pandemic, we must look at the opportunities that the pandemic will open to countries, to businesses, to individuals. Now, many countries need things. Why are we the ones who have to spend the little money we have? Go and create jobs for them while we sit here and our people don't have jobs. So, for me, business people, government, we all have to begin to think differently.
Right.
We need to do things very, very differently. I mean, he is a finance person, so he will talk about. He can talk more competently about liquidity and all that. But I can tell you that making sure that you protect your cash is critical. But if you don't have money, you go under. If you don't have money to run your business, go under. Well, the governments are going to give more business $600 million. That's fine. You don't know how much you can get, and whether that will be adequate for your business. And you don't even know whether you can get at all. Because you don't know the criteria, and I don't know the criteria for selection. Right. So, business people need to sit down and stop. I'm saying don't panic. Because if you panic, you take the wrong decision. Take your time, reflect, understand the issues, both internally, in your company, outside your company, outside your country, and see and look for the opportunities that you see. But try and manage the risks that are ahead of you. Well, there's a lot of uncertainties, there's a lot of dislocations. Even the very workers we are talking about, they have a lot of uncertainties, but they don't know
their future here.
They are going to be told that as we run out of money, we can't pay. Not that we don't want to employ you, not that we don't want you, but we just don't have the money. So that uncertainty itself becomes an issue for ordinary people, for employees. So businesses need, this is the time to sit, to think, to reflect, and not to panic. If you panic, you will take all the wrong decisions in the world. So okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Since Mr. Ato Ockan is more of a finance person, we want to find out, looking at business on the new way to do business, are we obliged or can we actually look at external loans, pay-as-you-goes, the VAT and others? How are we going to intersperse all these things to make sure that we stay in business? Someone is watching at home, still distracted with his business. Yes.
First of all, I mean, like Dr. Yamson said, we need a very cool head to manage this transition. You know, the world has shifted, the world has changed.
Okay.
Things will never be the same any longer. So businesses will have to readjust and realign their standard operating systems. Things that they have been used to for 40, 50, 60 years will not apply now. Now most of the companies are working from home. You know, even banks, you know, they run shifts and so on, just to be compliant with the protocols and all that and so on. You know, can you imagine one bank official having been affected by this corona? The multiplying effect across the entire business could be massive. It will even compound the problem. For them. Now that will deal with the business side, will deal with the medical side. You know, so that's one issue. As businesses, I think they should also sit down with employees and have some understanding. Okay. Some employees have taken a salary cut just to make sure that the company survives, and also you also have a job to do. You know, else the ultimate issue is to dismiss everybody, and that will be a worse option. So, you know, both employees and employers will have to sit down and properly analyze the issue and take a very prudent, pragmatic decision that will help both the employees and the employers as well. You know, at this time, businesses or companies should actually defer major fixed asset acquisition. One major, you don't like Dr. Gyamfi said, the major, you know, asset you have is your liquid cash. You are going to use that one to acquire assets, acquire inventory, and all that. In any case, if you produce those, who's going to buy it anyway? You know, so we have to be very careful about that for the company to survive and to sustain the future of the company. You know, some of the workers may even opt to take salary to actually take leave without pay for some time, for at least. I remember some of the companies, you know, said, fine, we can pay you, say, 50% for the first month, and, you know, for the next 2 months, you may have to stay away, and when we need you, we'll call you. But these are very drastic decisions that needed to be taken to ensure that and protect the companies themselves and the employees' jobs as well. You know, so these are issues that need to be sorted out. Like it was said, now companies are running on online. You know, exactly. So you have to learn how to manage your business online. Like one of our panelists said, the new shift, the new paradigm is that you must have some technical knowledge about how to run your business online, because that's the way to go now, and so on. You know, so as a company, you need a very structural, strategic decision, and ensure that all these ends are properly brought together to just ensure that the company survives. Else, after 3 months, I mean, even if the doors are open, the restrictions are eased, everybody can go and do whatever. By that time, the company is gone. You know, you have exhausted all your liquid cash. You may even start to sell your assets. Anyway, who is going to buy it?
Who's going to buy them?
You know, so these are the issues. These are issues that I think need a lot of thinking, and it has also exposed us to a lot of weaknesses in our structure, to the extent that things that we took for granted so many years ago, now they don't exist any longer. You have to find new ways of managing those things in a very productive and structured manner. You know, so these are what I can say now. Yeah.
Right. So I think with our statutory obligations to the state and others, our VATs and stuff, those cannot be negotiated, I think.
Well, the point is that even if the government is magnanimous enough to say that we have deferred.
For a while.
They have deferred it. It doesn't mean you have been forgiven.
Okay.
You
So you'd still have to carry it in the back of your mind.
And even the stimulus package, it is not grant. It is not free.
It's not free. Okay.
So even if you manage to access that package, you got to know what exactly you want to do with that money. As you take the loan, it's a loan. It's not a gift. You know, after 3 months, fine. Now virus has subsided. Remember, you took $5 million. Now it's payback time. Then you begin. So this money I took. What did I do with it?
Maybe let me just add.
Okay, sir.
Because you see, we have the demand side and the supply side.
Okay.
Giving you money, deferring your debt or interest payment, is the supply side. So it leaves you with money to be able to run your business. But is the demand there for you? Mm-hmm. Is the demand still there for you? If you take the loan and you suddenly find that you are produced, like Dana said, and your demand is very weak. Because don't forget, this has hit many people. Who are buying your goods? Who are working goods? Those who are either in the street now or on half pay. So their priorities may have changed. So your product may not be part of their priorities anymore. Yes, and yet you've gone ahead. So you must understand the demand shifts in your industry.
Okay.
Before you
rush for that.
And I'm not saying don't go and take the money. Go and take the money.
Remember.
But take it only on the basis that you can pay back. Because as Ato said, it's not free. It's not a grant. I have seen on one.
You pay back grants, don't you?
You pay back grants. I think.
Well, grants is normally free.
Sometimes it's free.
Because I've seen a UK something advertisement with they want to give grants to small businesses, but they have shown that most of them are not for profit.
Organizations.
So you are disqualified.
So for me, and even in America, they say you will pay back. But I'm saying that I'm not saying don't go and take the money, but also understand the demand shifts in your industry to make sure that when you get the loan, there are industries where you always be successful. I mean, if we're selling sanitizer, you go and take a loan, you pay back.
You don't actually have an issue.
Right? But if we're selling shoes,
yes,
then you better be careful to go and take a loan to go and produce shoes or to go and bring shoes. Only to find out the man's priority is no longer
we are
the
no
shoes.
more buying shoes now.
And so that's why I said earlier, business people need to understand there are a lot of things we need to understand before in this environment, because things are also changing so fast, and the risk, the uncertainties, the dislocations, the disruptions are virtually every day. So you must keep abreast. Otherwise, you will rise to go and take this road. It will be good if they say, "Oh, if it's so bad, we are writing off." But that's not the word they use. Not a write-off. It's money you take and you pay. But it is good because businesses need to be supported.
Okay.
And the central bank has also taken some very real, actions that should help the economy. But again, in the supply side, we have to understand the demand side and make sure America is giving people checks to go and spend. We are not receiving checks to go and spend at all. So you have to be careful. But the stimulus is good. The Bank of Ghana are fantastic. But I think the uncertainties are so many. Businesses should understand their industry and their businesses very, very, very well. And if you can't do it internally, seek help. Because most of our Ghanaian businesses don't like the idea of asking for a consultant or somebody to come and help. You may not have all the skills inside the business, but you need help to understand it. You do. Because even big businesses are struggling now. They are struggling. So, for me, I think that, as I said earlier, there are also great opportunities. You need to sit down and say, so in my industry, where are the opportunities out of this crisis? And go for those opportunities. But it is not all doom and gloom. No. Not at all. I mean, who are people, those who are being dropped in,
Yes.
because the restaurant has closed, and you want to eat. Their business is flourishing.
Yes.
Their business is flourishing. And luckily for them, petrol price is also going down a bit.
Stable.
So there are areas where you have to sit down and reflect, and not just say that this is what my grandfather did and my grandmother did and my father did, and therefore I'll do the same way. It shall not work.
Okay.
If I may add to
Yes, sure.
assessing government grants and loans, my advice is that companies should not rush into going in for what they think is free. There's nothing free out there. They should look inside their companies and see how innovative they can be. Maybe they haven't identified all the opportunities that exist in their companies. So they should be able to readjust their operations to be able to see if they can actually take other opportunities rather than jump to going to collect it. Okay. Like Mr. Yamson said, if you don't have demand for some product, why do you rush in for a facility and spend the money when you have to pay it back at a later date? You need to look at your whole operational system and readjust it and take advantage of it before you rush into going to collect what you think is free from the government.
So, I want to also find out, in as much as there are interventions, subventions on our utilities, for instance, 50% cuts, water, light, etc. What are we also supposed to do, at least maybe to manage our finances? Are we supposed to continually tighten our belts? Because overhead cost remains the same. If I have to come to work, put on the AC, have a number of items still for the office to function, walk-ins might be on a scale maybe 10 the whole week. Or there are days you open up not even a single walk-in to make an inquiry or to make a purchase, but the same overhead cost. What can you do with the liquid you already have in hand still?
Well, I think we need to recalibrate our processes and in internal, issues and so on. You can just as it was said, there could be a lot of waste in the system already. Now you don't have the luxury of financing those supposedly normal things that you used to do. So you have to readjust your processes properly to ensure that those which are critical, which leads on survival, those ones you have to focus and direct your investment there and make sure that you have the returns. Like I said earlier on, now companies are even working at home. Therefore, you don't have all the employees at the same time in the office. Therefore, you are cutting down on your power usage, on your water usage, on telephone and all that. You may have to spend more on data because they are working at home. Therefore, they need access to internet and all that and so on. So those ones you may have to, but that one will bring returns. So it's a good investment in that area. But when it comes to the generic expenditure, especially fixed cost. Once you open the door, the cost has started running. So that's the area that you have to make sure that you curtail it and control it. If I even cut some costs, to ensure that you survive. The mantra, the key word here is survival.
Okay.
Assuming the pandemic lasts for another 1 year, supposedly, how are we going to survive? These are the issues that you have to think about. You may even have to rebrand your product. You have to repackage it. You have to have some collaborations and all that, and so on. As after 3 months, when the government said, now you have to come and pay electricity or come and pay water,
then
you have spent your money already. On top of that, you went for a stimulus package, which you have not paid. So how are you going to manage all this? So I think as businesses, this is the time for us to even reconfigure our brand and position ourselves properly. Like it was said, it's not all doom. We can also look at the bright side of a bad situation. Then take advantage of that and move on. Moreover, you should understand that it's not only in Ghana, it's a global issue. What is happening here is just a little bit of what is happening globally.
In the whole world.
So you are not only limited to issues happening in Ghana, and you have to ensure that you are a world player. A company that is producing the same item that you're producing in Ghana is also producing over there. They're also looking for new markets. So you've got to be innovative enough to ensure that, I can sell it this way, I can package it this way, I can even add something to it, I can have a reduced cost. Now margins are going to fall because people are holding on to their money. So if you're going to price your goods, so high, people will start moving away from you. So these are some of the things you have to think about.
Thank you so much.
If I may add to the savings on electricity, on the utilities, I think it's a fine opportunity for companies, individuals, to save money. If you were spending so much before the COVID-19, now you are saving by the government's allowance on your utilities. So this is the time also to take an opportunity to put some money aside for the rainy day. And I think that's it's something that people should look at rather than spend all your money. And when you know it's been given to you free, you spend it elsewhere. This is the time to put that money aside for some other day or for some other investment.
All right.
Maybe let me just be a little technical here. I'll try as far as possible not to make it too technical.
So not too technical.
We have something we call processes and systems. I talked about it. And we have done reviews in companies where we find out they could have done away with 60% of the things they were doing in the business. And therefore, all those things they were doing before were simply wasteful expenditure. That's why I keep saying there are opportunities. Because now, companies must be forced to look at the way they have been running their business. Is everything that I am doing essential, add value? Or it just destroys value? So that would be in companies where authorization goes through 10 people. And therefore you need 10 people to authorize. We realize you need only 2 out of the 10. Because at that time, money was flowing in. So how much does it cost? Now every penny is important. Every peso is important. Every cedi. So businesses need to be rigorous in the way they manage their business. And sometimes, let's say, even should be mean. Let me address a bit. Look at our government. How many in a poor country like Ghana touch the road and see how many 4x4s V8 are on our roads? And yet you go to the so-called rich countries, and the cars they are driving are small cars.
We like the V8 more now.
Yes. So how can poor people rather, and then the excuse we give is that but our roads are bad. But who is responsible for making the roads
better.
So why do you use the bad road to put a huge cost on your budget? So my point is, whether we are government or we are business or we are individual, we need to ask some very hard questions. COVID-19 is a curse, it's a crisis, but I have been looking at it also as an opportunity for us to begin to ask a very difficult question. The very, very difficult question. You go to some companies and there are many people walking around. And you really cannot say everybody is doing an 8-hour work for the day. That is that. And I'm not saying that you go through people the street, but you have to ask this question: does this job create value? Because you no longer have the luxury of cash. As I just said, we don't know how long this cash is going to last. How long did the world get handled on HIV/AIDS? It took a lot of time. The HIV/AIDS, at least you knew that if you were responsible, you didn't go around, you would. But now you don't even know that by just simply opening your mouth, you are affecting somebody. So we don't know how long this is going to take, and that's why, whether it's a business, it's big, it's medium, it's small, we all have to make sure that we do things very differently. That we just don't continue to spend money as we used to do before. It will not hold. Because, as you say, cash is king again. Cash used to be king, now cash is king again. So let's make sure that, because we need the businesses to survive. Because, we have over 80% of our business are SME. Am I right?
Yes.
They need to survive for our economy to survive. And they need to be helped. 3 years ago, we had something we call NBSSI. Is that right? Small businesses, something. I don't know whether it exists. But this is the time that we need them, as we have all said, to ensure that our businesses survive. And businesses must survive. If they don't survive, where will all of us be? Anyway.
Thank you so much. At least you've prepared us on how best we are going to do our things now. We are doing things differently, but most importantly, we are tightening our belts to make sure that every single thing going on is something that adds value. Right. I wanted to throw the die again to Nana, so that at least if you have practical examples to share with us on the relevance, we'll be doing this session. We'll be wrapping up this first part soon enough so we can prepare for the part 2. But I want to find out, are there relevant examples, practical ones that you've done that you might want to share with us right here? We'll be very grateful.
Well, nobody anticipated the virus coming. And obviously, businesses went about their processes or their routine as normal, beginning of the year. But this is where you have gone and engaged or probably purchased goods on high seas. And then suddenly it comes in and there's a lockdown. What do you do? These are the challenges most or small and medium-sized companies have experienced in the first quarter of this year. When the country is locked down, you obviously not making any sales or returns from your investments. These are the challenges confronting, I think, many small, even large corporate organizations.
Okay.
I can give you one example.
Yes, please, sure. Go ahead and share the example.
Every year, our company will hold a business roundtable. It's a big affair, and we always do it in May. And we normally will have anything up to 300 between 300 and 400 people sit around there. It's an exciting moment. When the lockdown occurred, we had a very intense discussion. Should we cancel it? Because the lockdown was in March. We had already sent out invitations, we have got speakers, we had spent money. And of course, a lot of people were looking forward to the program. And we came to the conclusion that we can reach twice the number of people
by Zoom
if we go online.
Right.
So tomorrow we're having a webinar conference where we have over 650
Global
people registered.
connected.
We never got 500 before.
Okay.
We never crossed 400. But this time we have crossed 600. It's a huge exposure. That's why I'm talking about opportunity. But coming to that conclusion was difficult. We have the technology. Can we do it? Are we well prepared to do it? Would the speakers agree to speak? But then we realized that indeed we should have done that long time ago.
Okay.
So but that's a different experience. When you have goods on the high seas and the lockdown, and but they say the goods can arrive. But even if the goods arrive and you collect and you put in your warehouse, the people are in their homes. They have been locked down in their rooms. So nobody go to buy for you. People who come and take wholesale won't come. Those who go to the wholesale to lead, they won't come. So you are in a fix. Meanwhile, you have invested those funds already. And I'm like,
yes.
Sure. You have invested the funds.
Already here.
And if you took a bank loan, the loan is
Oh, right.
the interest is running by the clock. Right?
Okay.
So your mind
These are some of the challenges.
is full. And that is why I say the stimulus package is very good. And I think that the government did extremely well. And what the central bank, and I've said it, has done it even better. But we need to look at the real issues that our business people, for no fault of theirs, because this thing was totally unpredicted and it is unprecedented and the impact is overwhelming. Otherwise, I didn't want to say this, but I must say that a lot of businesses will just go under. Many businesses will go under. Right? So, if we allow the businesses to go under, they will go under with their employees.
Unemployment.
So, you are going to create even bigger unemployment crisis. So, this issue is not an issue that we just do politics with it. It requires deep, reflective thinking. How do we save this economy? How do we save our businesses? How do we save our people? And it is very, very, very important. It is, for me, it is critical. Because, look, we should not underestimate the dislocations that we are going to experience here and throughout the world.
Right. Thank you so much, Sis. I want to come up now with a little strategy. In the next 2 minutes, I would like us to give our final words for this initial session to break. We'll break for 5 minutes, and then we'll come through with our part 2 of our arrangement. So I would like to take our final words. What do you, as a businessman, as a corporate executive, as an individual, what do you have to tell individuals, families, or businesses that in as much as maybe it's an uncertain period, we are not certain when this is going to end, what do you want to tell them? How, aside all that we've said, what do you want? Not to say you are only here to give counsel per se, but just help us as viewers, because as an individual, I have my fears, I have my reservations, but I believe that we are here to also edify ourselves, and this is also a Christian program. It's a plus. Our audience are watching us via the globe, and they all want to learn something from us.
Okay.
Yeah. So please help us, Daddy.
I think I will look at it from the positive side. It has helped us to unearth previously unimaginable opportunities.
Okay.
To the extent that, like Mr. Yamson said, now, even though the pandemic has halted a very major event, it has also given opportunity to look at, to think outside the box, to look at the alternatives that we have. Now you are reaching more people than we even imagined at a cheaper cost.
Okay.
You know, and it's very effective. And I think governments, companies, individuals, households should start thinking about, are there any other ways of doing the same thing in a less costly manner and even more effective and more profitable? You know, so it has given us opportunity to think outside the box. And I believe it is possible. It can be done. Look at, we are sitting down here, you know, and when the churches locked down, suddenly we realized that we can still reach our members through other means. Things that we had never before. Now we think it's possible, and we are doing it. And we are reaching more people. People come to church. Now they can sit in their homes and still have a virtual church service. We even celebrate communion right at home. Has it happened before? It hasn't happened before. Now we can do it. So to me, even though the effect is drastic and totally unprecedented, I think there are good things to the extent that it has unearthed, you know, knowledge and processes that are equally effective and profitable, so that we can move forward out of it. I'm saying that nobody can still predict the length of this crisis. So the earlier now how to manage the future is critical, so that our businesses do not go under. If our businesses shut down, the country's GDP will be affected. The country's capacity to grow and take care of its people will also be affected. And I think this is the time the government, is good that they have brought the stimulus and all that, but you should think beyond that. The government that gives me the stimulus, fine. They have reduced my utility bills and so on. What do I have to do as a person to take full advantage of what the third party is doing for me, so that we can all move forward and so on? So to me, as individuals, we need to think very deeply, and also in a very proactive manner.
Okay.
If you wait, other companies, other competitors will overtake you. Before you are aware, the company is gone. Nobody will even remember your company any longer. But this is the time we should think ahead and look at issues that can be done as quickly as possible, so they take advantage of all the opportunities that we have.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Please, I want to throw the baton on to the rest of us, please.
Right.
I'll find out words.
Okay. I would say it's a time of reflection. It's a time to go back to the drawing board and innovate, create. It is not a time to panic. On a sober reflection, you should assess, evaluate your means, your resources, to be able to plow it effectively into your system or operations that you embark on. And we are in the house of God. I would say, let's pray for God's blessings and direction as to whatever we are doing. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you so much, Nana. Doc, what do you make?
For me, first of all, as I said, this is primarily a health crisis. So let us all make sure that we stay healthy and safe. The good generals are those who live to fight again. So if you don't look after yourself well, as a business leader, as a family head, as a head of government, as a priest, and you don't look after yourself well, and you do the opposite of all the things you should not do, and you get ill, what happens to your followers? Yeah. So we have a duty to make sure that we are heard.
Okay.
The second thing I would advise is that we should communicate with our people, whether it is our families, whether it's our church members, whether it's our workers, whether it's our citizens of this country. We should communicate regularly, honestly, and credibly.
Transparency.
We must be seen to be honest with what we are communicating to our people. We should not give our people any opportunity to think that we are not telling them the truth. Because if we create that, we will lose the trust of the people and we can't fight the crisis. Now, having done that, we must demonstrate leadership. Whether as a head of family or as the spiritual minister of my church, or the CEO, or the chairman of a business, or the president, or the minister, we must make sure that we demonstrate leadership. That in all we do, we should exude confidence to our people. Because if we don't demonstrate leadership, i.e., you the leader, you are panicked and you are afraid. And what happens to your followers? So you the leader must show that in the times of in these times of crisis, you are the best crisis manager. And you have to be truthful. You must do things that sometimes you would think, okay, but in a crisis situation, you have to take actions that sometimes are difficult. But because you are the leader, you have to take those decisions. Because it is only by taking those decisions that you can save your family, or you can save your church, or you can save your business, or you can save your country. If you run away from your leadership role and you begin to do things that are in your own personal interest, then you are not a leader. Then you are failing your people. Then you are not a leader. Because the crisis, one African president whose name I can't mention, said, this is a war, as Ato said. And in a war situation, leaders are the ones who lead and people see them. He's a general. He gives the order. So you must think clearly. The decisions we take must be decisions that are credible, decisions that will be seen to be selfless, that you are not only there to save yourself. I know that my colleagues have talked about what business is. And for me, the leadership role in this crisis is very important. And you can see yourself in those countries that their leaders have behaved as leaders in a crisis, the countries have been saved.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, viewers, this is where our session ends tonight, and we know that you've all been blessed with something wonderful. We want to say a big thank you to our panelists. You've been awesome tonight. You have blessed us and graced us with all the nuggets we need for our businesses. So we'll make a date with you same time next week, and we expect that we'll have our cherished viewers here with us. So have a good evening and a rest of the night. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.